Chapter 26, Eden Calling. Aboard the Olive Lamp en route to EdenOrbital Station, the ship hummed with gentle anticipation. Inside the crew lounge, lit by natural spectrum panels and ringed with translucent windows showing the slow arc of lunar curvature, the ambassadors of light gathered. Naomi tapped the arc panel floating midair. Confirmed. Nova's tour account just listed EdenOrbital 3 nights from now. Rachel gave a soft cheer, then caught herself. I mean, that's huge! Jonah grinned. From the tower to the light. That's a turn. Micah, less enthusiastic, leaned forward. If she says yes, if her team doesn't pull her back first. Ezra looked up from the message he'd been typing to EdenOrbital's Civic Trust. We'll prepare. I have faith. Eve nodded. So do I. She's searching. We all see it. Around them, the ship was abuzz, not with chaos, but with purpose. Crates were secured, their travel manifest verified. The Olive Lamp, once built for diplomatic travel, had been subtly upgraded since the Marinega deployment. It bore no Syndicate insignia on its hull, only a faint white tree etched into the side, half hidden beneath solar sails. Ezra stood, glancing around. Let's go welcome her with truth. Not lights, not logos, just light. They made their way to the bridge, laughter trailing them, the shadow of Jackson's death still present, but softened by new purpose. In the silence between conversations, one thought passed between them. She would have liked this. En route to EdenOrbital Station, Deep Lunar Earth, Transit Corridor, Sector Delta 9. The Olive Lamp cruised silently through the black between the moon and Earth, its hull glinting like a prayer whispered across starlight. The ship was built for peace, but it remembered war. Long-range comms buzzed softly as Eve monitored energy signatures. Ezra, she said, not looking away from her screen. I've got something. Drifting. No IFF beacon. 12 ticks ahead and closing. Ezra entered the bridge, tightening his coat. Another survey drone? No heat profile like one, Naomi replied, glancing over Eve's shoulder. This one's cold. Could be a ghost raider. Micah raised an eyebrow. Or a pirate ship riding dark. Jonah stood. Weapons are sealed, but this ship isn't helpless. Ezra shook his head. We are not here to make war. Hail them, all bands. They tried. No reply. A minute passed. 2. Then, movement. The object flared, its engines pulsing to life. Its silhouette sharpened, compact, angular, patched with mismatched plating. Definitely no Syndicate design. Micah swore under his breath. No lights. They're not even pretending to be clean. Brace for proximity, the ship's pilot called. They're coming in fast. The pirate threat. On screen, the vessel's image came into full view. Scarred, modified, heavily armed, no doubt. Ezra stood tall. Broadcast this. This is a diplomatic vessel. We carry no currency, no cargo of value. We only carry peace. Do not force our hand. Still, no reply. Instead, the pirate ship rotated, its railgun bay slowly aligning. Micah moved quickly. Arm countermeasures. Bring the defense AI online, but don't fire unless they do. Sir, we're being painted, the pilot said. Target lock confirmed. Ezra whispered, Lord, not this day. A blip, then 2. Incoming ordnance! Evade! Shouted Jonah. Now! The oil lamp banked hard. One missile spiraled wide. Countermeasures fooled it. The second stayed true. Engaging anti-projectile net, Eve said. 10 seconds. but Micah had already tapped into the defensive panel. No time! Retaliation. A bright white flash, silent in space, exploded behind the ship. The missile never made contact. Rachel looked up, stunned. Did we get hit? No, Micah said grimly. We hit them. The ship's automated turret had launched a stealth kinetic torpedo, a railgun slug wrapped in signal-silent plating. It was standard for extreme last resort defense. The olive lamp's final warning. It had worked. The pirate ship, now debris, drifted in silent ruin. Aftermath. Silence fell. Ezra sat down slowly. They gave us no choice. Eve nodded. Eyes misted. We warned them. We reached out, but they came to kill. Jonah murmured. I saw a red triangle on their hull, barely visible. Could have been old, or Pulse, or Red Pact. Naomi looked toward Earth in the distance. We didn't want war, but it's coming anyway. Ezra leaned back, closed his eyes. Log it all, he said. We'll give a full account at EdenOrbital. We'll still welcome Nova with peace. EdenOrbital Station. Terminal 12 Alpha. Arrival platform, Grand Concourse. The olive lamp eased into dock with a whisper of maglocks and thruster gas. Outside, EdenOrbital bloomed into view. A sprawling, rotating arc of lights and glass suspended high above Earth's curve. Part city, part cathedral, part airport. It was a place of pilgrimage for some, profit for others. The station's calm chimed. Docking complete. Welcome, ambassadors of light. Ezra, flanked by Rachel and Micah, stepped onto the platform as the airlock hissed open. Below them, the concourse was already alive. Crowds streaming beneath holograms and massive banners announcing Nova, Celestial Sounds Live, only at EdenOrbital. Stellar Stage Alpha, 3 days only. Sponsored by Pulse and Atmos Threadwear. Unreal, Rachel murmured. You'd think royalty was coming. She is, Naomi said, emerging behind them, of a kingdom not her own. The arrival buzz. Screens everywhere played clips from Nova's past shows, her voice ethereal, her dress shimmering like a nebula, her eyes almost searching. Security bots rolled past. Vendors hawked glow fruit and aroma patches. A floating pulse drone trailed the AOL group, scanning faces discreetly. Think she'll meet us? Jonah asked. Ezra nodded, steady and sure. Her team's confirmed arrival. I've scheduled a welcome reception. Nothing formal, just space to breathe. Does she know who we are? Micah asked. She knows we reached out, Eve said. That's a seed. We'll see if it grows. The venue revised, the celestial sphere. They crossed the glass-sign causeway into Stellar Stage Alpha, a spherical concert chamber suspended in the zero-G midsection of EdenOrbital's art sector. The venue was a marvel, a perfect globe, stabilized by internal gyros and magnetic dampeners. Everyone entered through one of 6 docking pedals that branched off like spokes from a wheel. Inside, the audience floated gently, anchored by low-level gravity plates woven subtly into the seating nodes. Curved platforms hovering at every angle across the sphere's interior. From above, below, or sideways, every seat had an unobstructed view of the center. The stage itself was a floating disc, suspended in the core of the chamber, slowly rotating to ensure no one stayed fixed to just her back. Around it hovered delicate acoustic rings, tuning the sound in real time, making even whispers a carry across the whole space. Above, Earth hung like a silent guardian, visible through the upper hemisphere. Below, the moon's limb curved across a smaller viewport like a cradle. Screens, gossamer thin but massive, hovered intermittently across the shell, magnifying Nova's every movement and expression with cinematic clarity. Around the upper equator, floating opera boxes shimmered in place, reserved for EdenOrbital dignitaries, artists, and visiting clergy, though the latter often traded their seats away to children or the poor, a quiet sermon of its own. Naomi drifted gently to her assigned benchpad and whispered in awe, "Feels more like a sanctum than a concert hall." Ezra nodded, still gazing at the center where the piano glided silently toward the platform. "It's both," he said, "and tonight she sings to more than just us. Maybe she sings to heaven." Final preparations. Back at their designated quarters, a cluster of modest diplomatic rooms set just outside the commercial ring, the ambassadors gathered. Micah and Jonah went over the security plans. Naomi finalized a message for the Syndicate media channels. Rachel looked over sound checks and backup recordings. Eve brewed tea. Ezra looked by the window, watching Earth rise from a platform so high it felt like heaven wasn't far. "She'll be here tomorrow," he said softly. "What if she's not ready?" Rachel asked. Ezra turned, Bible in hand. "Then we'll be." Stellar Stage Alpha, EdenOrbital Station. Concert night. The chamber was packed. Celebrities, colonists, traders, station workers, every seat taken. EdenOrbital's high sanctuary hall shimmered in atmospheric lighting, simulating a twilight sky. Earth in full view beyond the crystalline dome. A hush settled as the stage lights came up. Nova stepped into view, draped in silver silk, her hair haloed with soft bioluminescence. She stood alone at the mic. No dancers, no holograms, just her and a piano. She looked different tonight, not distant, not untouchable. "Nova, tonight I'm not here to entertain. I'm here to remember." She sang a new song, slow, reverent, a melody like prayer. The lyrics were abstract but mournful. "I saw the stars fall like ash in a dream I can't forget. I heard a whisper in the dark say, 'This isn't over yet.' And I lit a candle in the shadow of a tower, hoping someone somewhere would see." A few people wept. In the back row, Ezra, Naomi, Rachel, and Micah watched in silence. No camera crews, no social feeds, just raw presence. As Nova finished the last verse, she didn't bow, she didn't smile. She simply looked up at Earth and whispered, "Are you watching me too?" A pause, and then she left the stage. The room erupted, not with applause, but awe. Whispers spread like wildfire. No one wanted to be the first to speak above a hush. Jonah leaned over. This wasn't a concert. That was a confession. Eve quietly wiped a tear. "She's searching." Ezra, "Then let's be found." The celestial sphere, EdenOrbital Station. The house lights dimmed to a faint celestial blue. Every grav pad held its audience, breathless in place. The stage disc in the center of the chamber rotated slowly, and a soft shimmer glowed beneath Nova's feet. Her gown, a rippling cascade of silver threads and woven microfiber stars, caught the light like stardust. The first note from the piano was not hers. It was played live by a syndicate musician named Levi, a soft-spoken older man with a graying beard and firm fingers. He floated with practiced calm at his own upright station tethered to the edge of the platform. The keys glowed under his touch. Nova closed her eyes. Then she sang, her voice clear, soaring, edged with longing, rippled through the dome with an unfiltered vulnerability. The song was one of hers, known by millions, but this version, slower, bare, different. I thought I'd be whole in the heights, where the stars burn loud and the cities shine bright. But even surrounded, I'm still alone. I've brought all this gold, but I can't buy a home. The sound caught in the folds of the spear, hanging in microgravity like incense in a chapel. People began to cry. In one opera box, Rachel turned her head, hand at her heart. Micah leaned forward, watching the screen close-up of Nova's face, where a tear slipped past the glitter. Even Ezra, seated beside Eve, said softly, "She's breaking." The second verse touched the edge of a prayer. Not overt, never obvious, but raw enough that everyone felt the weight. If there's a place where mercy stays, where the broken get rebuilt and not thrown away, then take me there, I'll give up my throne. I don't want the praise. Silence after that line. Then thunderous applause broke out. Not planned, not prompted. It just happened. A release. Nova let it wash over her, but she didn't bask in it. She pressed her hands together and gave a slight nod. Humble, unsure, searching. In the audience, a teen from lunar America leaned toward his friend and whispered, "She's not like they said." Naomi caught the moment, capturing it quietly with her arc. Not to post, just to remember. Ezra leaned to Micah. "She's near the kingdom. Closer than she knows." Micah nodded, eyes still wet. "God reaches deep." The final verse was wordless. Just her voice, riding the keys in a melody that didn't need lyrics. A cry of the soul, searching the stars. When the last note ended, no one moved. The applause came late, reverent, stunned. A cathedral's worth of gratitude and ache. Artist Lounge, EdenOrbital Sphere, Concert Hall. The bass still pulsed faintly through the walls, like a heartbeat echoing in the bones of the station. The crowd had dispersed, the stage gone dark. But in the back of the venue, behind a secure frosted glass door marked performers only, the green room was still lit in soft tones of lavender and gold. Nova sat on the corner of a curved lounge seat, elbows on her knees, makeup half-worn and sweat drying on her back. Her silvery robe clung to her frame, a shimmer of post-performance tension still in her shoulders. She sipped from a thermos slowly, the applause still ringing in her ears. Not because it was loud, but because it was empty. The door chimed. She didn't answer right away. Then, "Come in." The door slid open with a gentle hiss. Naomi stepped in first, all warmth and curls, followed by Rachel, tactful, calm, eyes scanning the room out of habit. Ezra and Eve followed close behind, hand in hand like two halves of the same breath. Nova stood reflexively, putting on a brave smile. Hey, I wasn't expecting visitors. You guys don't sleep or something? Ezra chuckled, holding out a hand. We're the hosts. Couldn't let you disappear without at least saying thank you. Y'all filled that place, Eve added, stepping forward with a maternal glint in her eye. Every level, even the floats. Ezra grinned, and you wrecked them in the best possible way. Naomi leaned in for a gentle side hug. You all right? Nova hesitated. Her eyes flicked to the door, then back up. Yeah, I think. Just, that was a lot of souls staring back at me. Ezra nodded, folding his arms. A lot of lamps looking for light. That made Ezra pause. Her eyes glistened, just faintly. She blinked fast. Yeah, that. Eve stepped forward with a tilt of her head. We wanted to invite you for dinner. Nothing fancy, just some of our cooking. The boys are making supper. Nova raised an eyebrow. The boys? Jonah and Micah, Rachel said. They're domesticated now. Naomi laughed. Mostly. Ezra grinned, then softened. No pressure. We just thought maybe you'd want to breathe for a bit. Sit around a table. Eat something that doesn't come in a pressurized pack. Nova looked at them. Really looked. 4 faces that didn't want anything from her. Not fame, not access, not spin, just her. She exhaled slowly. What are we eating? Eve smiled wide. Flatbread, lentils, garden greens, maybe even a pie if Jonah didn't burn it. Nova cracked a small laugh. Count me in. I haven't had a home-cooked anything in, I don't know, maybe ever? Ezra nodded and opened the door, motioning gently. Then welcome home, Nova. Private Greenhouse Dome. EdenOrbital Station. Sign on the door. Closed for private fellowship. By invitation only. Nova stepped through the arched entry into a different world. Humidity kissed her cheeks. Earth-scented air wrapped around her shoulders like a memory she didn't know she missed. All around them, lush rows of greenery stretched upward and outward, vines twining up hydroponic columns, peppers glowing like lanterns, tomato blossoms shimmering in the soft simulated dusk. Above, the dome's inner shell was lit with warm spectrum lamps that mimicked the golden hour before sunset. She blinked. This feels like cheating. You built Eden. Ezra smiled, holding a small basket. Not Eden, just a whisper of it. Jonah and Micah waved from a prep station, already half filled with ingredients. We picked the good plot, Jonah said. Micah did the seasoning. Pray for us. We'll let you know if the Lord answers, Rachel teased. The Lord always answers, Jonah said. It's just he says no a lot. Naomi was already barefoot, weaving through rows of mint and basil. You can pick anything you want, she called to Nova. Just snap and go. This is good soil. Nova hesitated, then walked down a row. Her fingers brushed the tops of a lettuce cluster. It smells alive in here. Eve stepped beside her, hands full of herbs. Because it is. Every day we come through here, we're reminded what abundance looks like when it's shared. The table was already set, a long wooden slab beneath a trellis of cucumbers and morning glories. Simple dishes, clay cups, a single candle in the center. They served the meal hot. Flatbread brushed with olive oil and salt, lentils with herbs and garlic, roasted squash, fresh greens, and a warm hand-pulled pie with honey and cinnamon. They ate and laughed and let the world slip away. Then after the second plate, Ezra leaned back, folded his hands, and looked at Nova. You were incredible tonight, she burst slightly. I don't know. It felt like something poured through me. Ezra nodded. Maybe it did. He paused. Can I tell you what I saw? Nova looked around the table. They were all watching her. Not with judgment, but with a still kind of hope. Ezra continued. You have a gift, Nova. A voice that people follow. A presence that draws crowds. But those crowds, they're hungry. Not just for music. For truth. For peace. He leaned forward, voice low and warm. And I believe God gave you that voice to lead them somewhere better. Nova swallowed hard. What if I don't know where that is yet? Rachel smiled gently. That's why he puts people in your path. Naomi added, we were taught to till the land, not stir the pot. But sometimes the fields need shaking before the harvest comes. Jonah nodded. Even the prophets stirred the pot. They laughed softly. Ezra placed a hand on the table. We don't want anything from you. Not fame, not attention. We just want you to know there's a better kingdom, and you're invited. The greenhouse felt quiet. Outside the dome, stars hung motionless in the artificial twilight. Inside, a holy hush settled like dew. Nova whispered, maybe I was always looking for this and didn't know how to ask. Ezra answered gently, then you're in the right place. The glow of the garden had dimmed to twilight mode. The soft biolights in the canopy mimicked a slow lunar dusk, and the smell of crushed mint and tomato vine hung in the air. Nova sat back in her chair, a spoon still in her hand, half-finished dessert in front of her. She glanced around at the Syndicate crew. Jonah and Micah had stepped aside to gather dishes. Eve was humming softly as she repacked the herbal basket. Only Ezra, Naomi, and Rachel remained nearby, quietly sipping the warm tea Naomi steeped. Nova broke the silence. Do y'all ever wonder if maybe you're just pretending you know what you're doing? Ezra raised an eyebrow gently. I mean, she laughed, but it wasn't joyful. I've been on every chart in the system. My songs are on every ring station, every pulse net. My face is plastered on 2 asteroid billboards and a water tower on Europa. And still, I wake up feeling like I missed something. Naomi leaned forward. Like the whole world clapped, but your soul stayed quiet? Nova's eyes glistened. Yeah. She looked at Ezra. I thought I knew what I wanted. I always just sang. My dad used to take me to these little venues back on Earth. Just local stuff. Old gospel. Soul sets. I fell in love with it. Not the fame, not the lights. The music. The truth in it. She paused, voice faltering. But then my dad passed away. And the industry opened its jaws. And I thought, maybe if I just kept pushing, maybe if I just stayed focused, I'd outrun the pain. That if I hit every note just right, I'd never have to hear the silence. She looked down. But I do. Every night. Rachel reached across the table, gently placing her hand on Nova's. We're not immune to that either. We just know where the silence leads. Ezra spoke up softly. Nova, the world will offer you everything except peace. You've tasted its banquet, and now you're realizing the bread never satisfies. Nova's lip trembled. So what do I do? You stop trying to fix it yourself, Ezra said. You start trusting the one who already took the pain. Jesus doesn't need your image. He wants your heart. Naomi added, He's not waiting for you to get it all together. He meets you here, in this greenhouse, at this table, right in the middle of the broken. Nova looked around at them, these joyful, weird, grounded believers, and blinked slowly. Is it really that simple? Ezra smiled. It's not easy, but yes, it really is that simple. The garden hushed. Even the little fans in the planters seemed to still. Nova sat there, breathing shallowly, her eyes glossy but clear. Ezra looked at her, not with pity, but with hope. Nova, he said gently, you already know the ache. The world told you you'd be enough if you were talented enough, successful enough, admired enough, but you're still hurting because none of that can reach the soul. She nodded slowly. And you're right. All of us fall short. Every one of us. We've all sinned. All broken trust with our Creator. And the price for that is death. Eternal separation. He glanced at Naomi and Rachel, then back to Nova. But God didn't leave us there. He made a way. He stepped into our world, Jesus, fully God and fully man. He lived the life we couldn't. Sinless, holy, loving. And then he took our place on the cross. He died for our sins, not his. Rachel picked up gently. And he didn't stay dead. 3 days later, he rose, defeated death, defeated shame, so that anyone who believes in him could be forgiven, washed clean, and walk with him forever. Naomi added, voice soft, He knows your name, Nova. He's always known it. Nova sat there stunned. Then she whispered, So, what's to stop me? Ezra blinked. From what? She looked up at him. From being baptized. I believe you. I know he is risen. Ezra smiled, eyes misting. Nothing. Not a thing in this world. Rachel stood first, hand outstretched. Let's go then. Tonight? Nova asked. Naomi grinned. Why wait? You're not the first soul to rise from the water in a garden. The garden's quiet murmur faded into a sacred stillness as the group walked together, stepping beneath a soft arch of ivy toward the small river that wound through the greenhouse. It sparkled beneath faint blue lamps, mimicking moonlight. A man-made Eden, under stars and steel. This part of the river was wide and calm, clearly designed for more than just aesthetic. A few stone steps led gently into it. The water glowed faintly from embedded pathlights below, and floating plants drifted slowly by, alive but undisturbed. Nova stepped in with Ezra beside her, the others gathering at the edge. Rachel clasped her hands. Naomi smiled with tears already welling up. Eve stood just behind Ezra, her presence steady, radiant. The water wrapped around Nova's legs like silk, slower and lighter than it would have on Earth. The station's gravity fields pulled gently, enough to give weight, but not enough to hurry. Each step sent ripples curving outward in languid circles, lingering longer than seemed natural, catching the light like liquid glass. Ezra turned to her, his hand rested between her shoulders. "Nova," he said, voice clear in the humid hush. "You have heard the gospel, the good news that Jesus Christ is the Son of God, that he came and died for our salvation, and on the third day he rose again." She looked into his eyes, breath trembling. Ezra continued, "Do you believe Jesus Christ is the Son of God? That he died for the remission of your sins, and that he rose, defeating death, so you might have life everlasting?" Nova nodded once, then steadied her voice. "Yes, I do, with all of my heart." Ezra smiled, the joy of heaven written in his eyes. "By that confession," he said, "I now baptize you in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit." He gently guided her back. In the slow motion pull of the microgravity, the water clung to her, tension unbroken. It domed around her body, not ready to let go. For a moment, it looked as though she had been wrapped in a translucent shroud of silver. Then, with a sudden shimmer, the surface broke. The water collapsed gently back into itself, and Nova emerged gasping, alive, clean, new. Cheers rose from the shore. Rachel threw her arms in the air. Naomi laughed aloud, clapping with delight. Eve covered her mouth and blinked back tears. Ezra helped Nova to her feet, beaming. The river carried the ripples away. Overhead, the greenhouse dome caught the light, and for a brief moment, it looked like the stars had come inside. Location: EdenOrbital Greenhouse, late evening. The sound of water still echoed faintly off the glass dome, mingling with the low hum of nighttime systems, keeping the garden alive. Under the simulated twilight, with soft stars projected on the ceiling above, the group remained still, savoring the moment. Rachel stepped forward first, holding out a soft linen towel. Nova blinked away tears as she took it, her lips trembling. Not from cold, but from something deeper. Something that felt like release. "Here," Rachel said gently. "Wrap up. We've got tea steeping by the station." Nova nodded and followed them to the nearby benches at the greenhouse kitchen, a quiet corner surrounded by leafy vines and the aroma of basil and mint. Naomi handed her a clay mug, still warm. Nova took a sip, her hands cupping the tea like it was holy. "What happens now?" Ezra chuckled, the kind of low, relieved laugh that comes after something truly good. "No need to rush," he said. "We have all eternity, sister." She looked up at him, eyes still wide with awe. "You are now part of a royal priesthood," Ezra continued, "adopted into the family of God. The spirit of the living God now dwells within you. I'm glad you're still going to the tower." Nova tilted her head. "Why?" Micah and Jonah exchanged a look nearby. Eve sat beside Nova, hand gently resting on her arm. Ezra's tone softened but grew serious. "Because the tower is evil," Nova blinked. What do you mean? You'll see it, Naomi said softly. The pride, the idolatry, the worship of self, fame, control. They polished it in gold and called it progress. But deep down, it's slavery. Rachel nodded. They think they own the future. They think they can shape souls with pulse and image and praise, but they've never known someone truly free. Ezra leaned in, not with fear, but with confidence. Had you not been baptized, I believe you would have been swept up in it. You would have believed their lies, that their praises would replace your purpose. But now, he smiled, gently, fiercely. You are a new creation, not a puppet of the world, but a servant of God. Nova looked down at her tea. The silence settled again, this time not heavy, but peaceful. I don't feel different, she said, almost embarrassed. Eve smiled. Neither did I, at first. But just wait. Everything looks the same, Nova whispered. Ezra pointed to her heart. But you won't be looking the same way anymore. Naomi added, and when the tower tries to wrap its coils around you, remember, you're not alone. You've been born again, Jonas said from the back, and the tower's grip doesn't hold the dead who've been raised. They sat together a while longer, no one in a hurry, tea cooling, air fragrant with tomato vine and thyme. Somewhere, a small irrigation stream trickled over stones. Nova looked up at the stars beyond the dome and whispered, I don't know why, but I feel like I'm going to need this moment later. Ezra nodded slowly. You will. EdenOrbital Docking Bay, early morning. The artificial dawn glowed faintly across the greenhouse as the Syndicate crew gathered with Nova one last time. Her small case was slung over Jonah's shoulder. Micah carried a folded jacket she'd left behind in the green room. Rachel walked beside her, while Eve pressed a warm breakfast bun into her hands. Nova chuckled, brushing her hair back from her face. Y'all didn't have to walk me to the shuttle like I'm leaving summer camp. But we did, Ezra said with a grin. You're family now. That's what we do. The hallway to the launch gate was lined with domed skylights, casting soft gold across the tile. Syndicate guards at the perimeter nodded respectfully as the group passed. No media, no crowds, just the 6 of them, ambassadors of light, and one young star with a newly lit flame inside. So, Rachel tilted her head, I thought we coordinated with your manager for this. Nova smiled. I don't have a manager. Rachel blinked. What? No agent either, Nova added. I've got a team, mods I've worked with for years. They answer messages, schedule venues, run logistics, but I'm the boss. It's always been that way. You're serious? Eve asked. So coming here, this wasn't someone else's idea? Nova shook her head. I wanted to come. I wanted to sing. I didn't know what I'd find, but I knew I had to be here. Micah exhaled. Well, praise God for that. They turned a corner. The bay doors ahead were open, revealing the small pressurized shuttle waiting to carry her to the tower, a shining crescent glinting on the far horizon. The tower's spires were barely visible from this distance, like a crown suspended in shadow. Nova paused at the threshold, taking it in. I do still have to perform for the tower guests, she said softly. That's the agreement. Ezra nodded. Of course. But, she looked over her shoulder, eyes bright. It won't be the same as before. They smiled at her, bittersweet. Just try not to get swept away by the tower, Rachel said gently. I won't, Nova promised. Not now. They exchanged hugs. Real ones. No press, no cameras, just warmth. Ezra stepped back
as the bay doors closed, his hand lingering against the glass. His voice was quiet as the shuttle lights began to pulse. She's not going in alone now. Micah's jaw tightened. Still feels like sending a candle into a wind tunnel. Maybe, Naomi said, eyes fixed. But sometimes that's how you light a wildfire. The shuttle launched silently. They stood in silence long after it vanished. Whoop. Analemma Tower, Upper Cultural Sector. The shuttle docked with a hiss and magnetic clamp. Nova stepped out alone, cradled in the sterile light of prestige. No handlers, no entourage, only her pulse credentials in a hand-scanned bag. She had arrived. The Analemma Tower wasn't just a building. It was a living temple of digital gods, trillionaire visionaries, machine artists, neurohackers, fame chasers, pleasure architects. Every wall shimmered with living advertisements. The air smelled of sterile orchids and augmented delight. Nova walked toward her quarters. Floor-to-ceiling windows, a piano already tuned to a A440, complimentary neural exfoliation pod humming in the corner. But something inside her twisted. She remembered the water, Ezra's hand, the moment she rose up from the baptism pool, breathless, new. Her arc vibrated. Looking forward to your set tomorrow. Tower guests are very excited. Talos. No name, just the tower's faceless curator. She pressed scene and muted the thread. Performance Hall, the Infinity Sphere. The Infinity Sphere was not a hall so much as a throne room disguised as art, where EdenOrbital's concert sphere placed every listener in equal view. Here the boxes floated in layers of hierarchy, lofted tiers for the powerful, cramped alcoves for the lesser, each orbiting in slow, deliberate choreography to remind everyone of their place. Where EdenOrbital had no screens, only the honesty of the voice, the tower drowned its guests in images. Nova's face fractured across 100 surfaces, stretched across curved walls, multiplied in mirrored panes, refracted into glittering crystals that dangled from the dome. Drones spiraled like fireflies, capturing her from impossible angles, feeding her likeness into an endless loop of magnification. Where EdenOrbital's silence was reverent, Tower's silence was predatory. Every pause in the music left space for judgment, as though the room itself demanded performance without end. Even applause seemed engineered, an orchestrated roar summoned by lighting cues and sub-bass vibrations. And yet, against all that spectacle, her song cut through, not as a starlet devoured by their hunger, but as a daughter whose voice carried something they could not magnify, could not fragment, could not own. When it ended, the Infinity Sphere fell still. For our heartbeat, not even the screens dared to flicker. And then came the applause. Not polite, not reverent, but thunderous, desperate, as if even the wicked elite recognized that something true had slipped past their control. Post-show banquet, the glass catacombs. Nova attended out of curiosity. Sculpted guests hovered with drinks that mixed themselves midair. A dancer spun on nothing but magnetic threading. A child genius played chess with a sentient jellyfish. A woman with synthetic golden eyes said, "You could have everything. A standing show, syndication, a voice pack AI. Just say yes." Nova smiled politely.
already said yes to someone else. Private quarters. That night, she knelt beside the bed, real tears floating upward in beads. Lord, they want to swallow me. But you saved me. Let me be a light, even if it's small. She fell asleep to the glow of Earth's blues and greens, praying not to be devoured by the tower. Departure the next morning. At checkout, a tower staffer handed her a crystal medallion etched with her pulse handle. Most performers never leave, he said. You sure? I'm sure. As the shuttle sealed behind her, she whispered, Let the tower have its gods. I have mine.